Sexual harassment, the same as sexual discrimination.
No, but one can arise from the other, so let's go through the differences. Sexual harassment is unwanted behaviour of a sexual nature. The law protects you from sexual harassment at work. The unwanted behaviour must have either violated your dignity or created an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating or offensive work environment for you. It can be classified even if the effects wasn't intended, or intended to have one of the effects even if it did not. Employers are responsible for making sure that they try and prevent this from happening to you at work. And they can be held responsible, and this is called vicarious liability. Employers have responsibility to look after the well-being of you at work. Not doing this could lead to a serious breach of your employment contract, could then potentially raise a claim for constructive dismissal. Anyone who does this at work is also responsible for their own actions. Discrimination complaints can be brought to individuals as well as employers. It can happen to anybody. It can be anyone that you come into contact with because of your job, so someone you work with, your managers, or third parties. It can happen via all communication forms. Types of things that it could include could be sexual remarks, questions about your sex life, offensive jokes, sexual comments, touching, and then more physical incidents. Remember, just because you consider it banter, it could be considered sexual harassment in the workplace. Whilst it is usually directed at one person, that isn't always the case. It could be a general conversation that you're having in the workplace. In these situations, it can also be more than one type of harassment, so it could be harassment related to a protected characteristic or less favourable treatment because of how someone responds to that behaviour. If you've been subject to this behaviour and you raise a complaint, your employer should take your complaint seriously and handle it fairly and sensitively. In an ideal world, you'd raise the complaint as soon as possible. And when you make that complaint, you should make a note of what happened, include the dates, times, and any witnesses. You can either try and resolve this informally, or you can raise a grievance and take it via the formal route. It's also worth checking your company's policies when you are going to make a complaint. If raising a grievance hasn't worked, you can make an employment tribunal claim. And you must raise this claim 3 months less 1 day from the most recent incident. You can try and make a claim afterwards, but often the tribunals do not allow them to proceed. You should, of course, get specialist advice, and you can go to a number of different places for this. For some instances, you may also want to consider taking a criminal complaint. The employer also may choose to report this to police, but they should talk about it with you first. If you have made a formal complaint about this, you are then protected against victimisation for raising the complaint. Victimisation is when you've been treated less favourably as a result of being involved with a discrimination or harassment complaint. Nowhere to go, you can call ACAS. They are a free helpline. You can call them. They can give you employment advice, but they cannot give you opinions. You can also consider calling your Employee Assistance Programme, EAP. Most large companies offer access to this. And there are also specific charities if you want to reach out for further help. Sex discrimination is different because sex is one of the 9 protected characteristics. Sex discrimination includes direct, indirect, harassment, and victimisation. It can happen in any area of work. It can happen to anyone, and the law protects people against discrimination. This includes anyone from employees, job applicants, contractors, former employees. Direct discrimination is when you are put at a disadvantage or you're treated less favourably because of your sex or because you're wrongly believed to be a different sex. Indirect discrimination is when a working practice, policy, or rule applies to everyone but puts a person or a group at a disadvantage because of their sex. Harassment includes sexual harassment, but also is harassment related to sex or less favourable treatment as a result of harassment. Similar language here is around unwanted behaviour. Victimisation is when you're treated less favourably as a result of your complaint. Now that pulls out the differences between sex harassment and sex discrimination. If you're in doubt that you're ever suffering with any of these, give ACAS a call. They can give you advice over the phone for free. These topics are very deep. There is only so much I can cover in a quick TikTok.